Please note that this series contains stories of violence, assault, suicide, and suicide attempts that some people may find disturbing. Names and places have been changed for privacy. Listener discretion is advised.
At the next house, a cat showed up one day. I named it Simba because it was orange. Every once in a while, it would just hiss like the piano played. It used to ding by itself. I assumed it was the cat, but sometimes it would ding when the cat was with me. The cat freaked out. The cat knew something was with me. Then I went home with my parents for a month or two. I couldn't afford living alone, so I went into the newspaper and I found a girl who needed a roommate. Great, she doesn't know me, we meet, I move in. Great, fine. I lasted 6 months before she kicked me out. It was a girl, she lived there by herself. Her boyfriend lived a couple hours away. She wanted another girl to live with because she wanted company and she didn't want to be there by herself. It was a 3-bedroom split bi-level, and the bedrooms were downstairs. So I moved downstairs, and there was a few times she heard men's voices coming from my room. And one day she asked me, "Do you have a boyfriend I don't know about?" I'm like, "No." "I'm not kidding, I heard a man's voice from your room last night." I'm like, "Oh, no, maybe I was sleep-talking." The next night I woke up and she's screaming her head off, and I run out of my room and into her room and she's pointing, "There, right there, he's standing right there." Like, what? Who's standing there? I flick the light on and she says, "There was a man in here and he's just standing there watching me." And she's bawling and we don't know each other very well and she's like, "Can you sleep with me?" And I had to sleep in her bed with her. It was so weird. So I slept in her bed with her, and the next night, I don't know if she made me sleep in her bed again. There were a few nights where I'd sleep on her floor or whatever. She was terrified. We're safe here, we're fine, and then her friend wanted to move in for a few months because she was moving to the city to go to school, but she was waiting for her boyfriend. "Do you mind if my friend moves in here for however many months?" And I was totally fine. "Less rent? Okay." So her friend moves in, and she's super nice as well. And then her friend said to me, "I heard men's voices coming from your room, and I know you weren't home. I opened the door and you weren't there." And she said this in front of the other roommate, and the other roommate was like, "I heard it too. I heard it too. Oh my God." So they started talking about it, and by then I was like, okay, there's something going on. So the next morning, the new girl woke up and screamed. I went into her room, and her mirror, a stand-up mirror that was against the wall, was against her bed. So when she rolled over, she faced herself, and she screamed, "Who came into my room?" We had never had a confrontation with her before, and she was like, "Who came in here and moved my fucking mirror?" Like, oh my God, that was the most terrifying thing. She turned over to see herself, and she didn't recognize herself. And the other roommate next to me was like, "Oh my God, there's a ghost with you." And I'm like, okay, really? Okay. A couple nights later, she said, "I don't think you should live here anymore." It just so happened that my friend Francis contacted me because he needed a roommate. He just got a place downtown and needed a roommate. Okay, sounds like fun. I went. I moved out right away. I get in there and I remember thinking, ghosts can't move across water. I remember hearing that. Hey, ghosts can't move across water. I think I'll be okay. Then it was things like the cupboards again. The cupboards were opening and the curtains were opening and closing. I remember one time we went to do laundry together and we left the curtains open because we were on the 9th floor. And when we came back, the curtains were closed and it was dark in there and he was like, "Oh, that's really weird." And I was like, "Yeah, that's really weird." I was bothered by the cupboards. I thought it was Francis. Like, why the hell would you open every single cupboard? But then I was with him and we came home and all the cupboards were open and I was like, okay, yeah, this is really creepy. Francis was like, "Do you have a ghost with you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure I do have a ghost with me." And he was like, "Huh, that's pretty interesting." And that's all he said about it. This is uncomfortable now, like really bad. So I think it was then I started talking to my parents about it, because now being on my 4th or 5th house, it was a problem. Our friend PJ came over, and PJ was in the bathroom, and the bathroom mirror was up against the wall. And when the bathroom door is open, you can see through past the hallway into the kitchen. So he's in the bathroom, the door is open, and he looked up, and he said he saw a man walk across behind him, and he can see Francis sitting in the kitchen, and I wasn't home. When I got home, he's like, "Sarah, you got a ghost with you. Oh my God, I saw it." Francis said, "Yeah, I've seen the same thing. Someone walked behind me through the mirror." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's crazy." Then there was an apartment that opened on the same floor, but it was a studio apartment. So I said to Francis, "I'm going to move out into my own apartment." And same sort of stuff, less cupboards. So I started talking to my parents about it. Mom was like, "The beige house was haunted. That's why I wanted out of there." What? Mom! We started talking about what was happening to me. Dad said I should talk to my grandma, his stepmom, about it. I talked to Grandma about it, and she's like, "That's interesting, because 30, 40 years ago, she had a son before she adopted my dad. The original son was waking up with night terrors, and they felt something was with him. She took him to a wax pourer. Back in the old days when you wanted to know if you had an entity or spirit with you, they would pour some wax, and the wax would take the shape of whatever was with you. According to Grandma, it took the shape of a dog and a knife." So she said they poured the wax, they broke it up, and nothing ever happened again. That was all I got from my grandma. Okay, well, I feel like I have something with me as well, so that's when we started talking about family and when we started talking about the ghost. My uncle and mom and all them have different stories of us as kids in the house, but they won't tell us a lot. Also, none of them have any idea who it would be or where it would come from. But that's when I started talking to my parents about it. Around 2000, 2001, while I lived by myself. I hated living by myself. So I was working at a store and I met some girls and they needed roommates, and they were like, "Let's find a house." So we found a house on the east side and we moved into that. It was an upper level, hardwood floor, really nice place. A guy lived downstairs. And we moved in, and same sort of stuff. Men's voices, whispers. Lori, who I'm still good friends with today, doesn't remember any of that. Doesn't believe in any of it. Thinks it's all bull. There's no ghosts. There were a few times she was like, "Okay, this is creepy." But doesn't believe in any of it. Very straight-laced. We were honestly drinking all the time. Working, partying. Like, we would work 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., drink until 4 a.m., and then get up at 9 a.m. and go to work. That's what it was, a party house. So we partied all the time. Amy left and in came Molly. At the same time, actually, Lori moved out with her boyfriend. So then it ended up being me and Molly. Molly is Wiccan and believes in witches and stuff like that. And she said, "This feels weird, like something is here." And I'm like, okay, because I told her nothing. So we're sitting in the living room one day, and I have a swivel chair, and we're chatting about something. The TV is on, but it's super low. And the chair was facing away, and all of a sudden, it turned and faced us. And Molly says, "Well, hello there. Where did you come from?" She says, "There's a man in that chair, and he wants you to know that he's here." I'm like, "What?" And she says, "I think I have to bless this house." So she did whatever she did. She burnt some stuff and walked around the house and blessed it and did whatever ritual she did. She blessed the doorway of the house. And in the end, I was like, "So, is it gone?" And she said, "I don't think he's gone, but he's quiet now."